How are you?
Hey, what's going on?
Not too much. Thanks so much for taking a few moments to be here with me today. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So go ahead and introduce yourself for people that may not know you, and just kind of tell us a little bit about who you are.
Um, I'm EMACKEY. I am a photographer, entrepreneur, and activist. I guess you can say that's the easiest way to kind of package it up into a neat little container. But I'm so much more than that. But that's pretty much the easiest little box to put it in.
Okay, yeah. I mean, and just so I'll go ahead and say some things too. I mean, you really started I shouldn't say started a movement, but you had a movement that you started about what, like a year ago or so, a little about a year and a half ago, where you kind of chose and you created a what was it, a display, what's the word for the display, you had a
Oh, you mean the exhibition?
yes, thank you,
Yeah,
thank
the
you,
art
thank you.
exhibition. Yeah.
Yeah, where you say, choose your weapon, and
hmm
your weapon happened to be your camera. You took some fantastic pictures, did some awesome things, and got a book out, created a book out of it. So you've done quite a bit in the last 2 years. I mean, you've been doing things, of course,
hmm
for a while, but the last 2 years have been phenomenal.
hmm Yeah, last year actually. Yeah,
Has it been a
or
year?
a year and a
Wow.
half.
Okay.
I guess a year and a half now. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And I mean, you were featured on the BET Awards, right? Am I correct in that?
Yes and no. So it was a commercial that aired during the BET Awards.
Yes, yes, yes,
hmm
yes. Yeah, yeah. Awesome, awesome. So I'm going to start with a couple questions that I wanted to ask you. The first one is, what's something you wish you would have known at the beginning of your career?
Which career?
Pick one, and then tell us which one, and then just something that you think that you wish you would have known.
I don't. Maybe that. Um, oh, you know, I wish that I would have known about the importance of credit and that I could have bought a house and not lived in it. So I think that's something important because when I look back to all the apartments that I had over the years and all the like hundreds of thousands of dollars I spent on apartments since I was 18, I could have been halfway through paying for a house, and that equity in that house could have been funding some stuff that I got going on right now. So I wish I had known those types of things because I probably would have maneuvered a little bit more strategically and not been trying to like play catch up now.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to someone about that the other day, just about how I know for myself, I didn't grow up being taught about credit and the importance
hmm
of credit. And I really try to advocate to parents now, especially in certain demographics and certain communities, to like really teach your children about credit, because there are some communities that do teach it from, I mean, from the beginning, and they put their
hmm
children on like credit cards and all kind of stuff to get them lined up before the children even know what credit is.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I think. I mean, I know the question was kind of geared more towards like career,
No, that's no,
but
whatever you
it's
prefer.
not really anything that I would tell myself differently as far as career wise. And I think that everything that I did kind of served the purpose to get me here. But that is one piece of advice that I wish that I had known and would have taken it seriously as I would take it now. Because sometimes you could be told something earlier, but it just you're not at a place where you can really receive it.
Sure.
hmm
Sure. Yeah, no, I like that. Um, let's see. Share a moment that changed you in some way throughout your life, like something that really impacted you or caused you to think differently or feel differently.
So that happened last summer when I was out at the protests and everything. I think um, I, when I was out, I originally was going to go out for a couple days, just like 2, 3 days, go to Minneapolis, shoot
And
what
this
I
is
could shoot, and then come back home. And what ended up happening was a lot of black women showered me. Like I was getting DMs from people all around the world, but it was consistently black women saying, "Are you eating? Are you okay? Do you need a rental car? Do you need a hotel? Do you need a flight?" Like, offer me all types of support, saying, we're praying for you, all of that. And so, it really kind of made me sit and think, like, whoa, wait a second. All these black women are covering me, but what if I had been a black woman? How many black men would have been sending me DMs like this? How many black men would have said, "Are you okay? Are you eating? Do you need anything? Do you need a hotel? And it really made me realize how covered and protected that Black women have made me feel, and how little I have done in return for them.
Mm.
And so when I kind of put that in perspective and started looking at the fact that I was getting so many donations and I was able to stay out for months when I originally had planned on staying out for just a couple of days, it just really woke me up and made me realize that the way that I was showing up for Black women, or not showing up for Black women, was not acceptable to the person that I wanted to be. And so just that experience kind of made me really realize, like, whoa, I could be doing a much better job than what I have been doing. So that was kind of a wake up moment for me, something that changed my life. And I think it changed the way that I interact with Black women in a lot of ways. Definitely the way that I, like, what's the word I'm looking for? The way that I stand up for them or like defend them. So that was something that changed me in some way, a moment.
Oh, that's awesome. And what protest was that? I mean, I know
It wasn't any particular protest.
Okay.
But I know that it was around the time that I was in Minneapolis. So it was like at the beginning of my journey of traveling for the protest. So I would say this was like maybe 4 or 5 days after George Floyd had been killed.
Yeah.
But I was in Minneapolis, and I was in a hotel. I remember I just was at a protest, and I was in Minneapolis, and that was where the thought kind of started. But it was throughout traveling, like the weeks and the months that came, being on the front lines and like seeing Black women crying and seeing Black women lose eyes and seeing Black women get hit by police or shot by police, just seeing all these Black women that were standing out there in front for me. And then me realizing, like, man, I never stood up for a Black woman when they said how they felt at work. I never stood up for women in general when it was a women's march. I thought it was annoying personally. And then I felt so guilty because I'm like, these are all these women that are praying for me, donating money for me, putting their life and health on the risk, at risk and on the line for me, and Black men that look like me. And here I am, like, making jokes about their experience or thinking that their experience and struggles is annoying when they want to speak out about it. So, the seed kind of got planted there in that hotel room that day. But the more I was out and the more I was able to interact with other Black women that were strangers, it just kind of solidified it.
Oh, that's amazing. I really appreciate you for your transparency and honesty with that, because, a lot of times it's hard for people to admit something that they feel like, maybe they were wrong or have changed. So I really appreciate that, because that's really that's beautiful to me in regards to the fact that we have to be honest with ourselves, right? When we done something that we consider wrong or was on the wrong direction and we made amends for that, it's okay to be honest and say, you know what, I should have handled that differently, or I'm going to start handling it differently from now on. So I appreciate that.
Oh, no problem. And if you see me looking, I'm trying to remember to look at the camera because I'm on the phone. So I know when I look at you, it looks like I'm looking away, but I'm actually looking at you. But I'm trying to remember to just look there, listen and look.
Yeah, I get it. I do the same thing. I really have to try to train myself. So, so what's one thing that you would tell your younger self? Like if you could give your younger self some advice, you know, differently than like the credit thing, but just something else that you would tell your younger self, if you could.
You're on the right track. Just keep going. Like, don't change anything. Do what you're doing. If it's not about the credit thing, then it is do exactly what you're doing. Because I took a lot of risks and did a lot of sacrifice and did a lot of believing in myself that didn't make sense to a lot of other people at the time. It was not very much support. And everybody thought I was crazy for what I was wanting to do. But I was like, I don't really care if y'all like it or think that it makes sense to you. I'm doing this for me. So it would just be to do what you're doing. Because at the time when I was younger, I only had like 2 people that really believed in me. And that was my grandma and my uncle. And everybody else thought I was, and it was times my uncle thought I was crazy. But, it would be to just continue doing what I'm doing. And I see now, it's crazy. Now, 10, 15 years later, I'm seeing people make posts on social media about all these things I was telling myself way back then about believing you, don't worry about what everybody else thinks. And I'm like, wow, these are some of the same people that were telling me I was crazy. you know, but
Yeah.
I would just tell myself to just keep doing what I was doing. Cause I mean, it was, you know, do I think that I did everything right? No. But
Right.
again, some of those mistakes and heartaches that I had helped to shape me and mold me into who I am. So I would not, even though my path wasn't the easiest, I would not want to change that path at all. In terms of what I had to endure and go through, because it kind of shaped me into who I am today and the mentality that I have today. But I really would say get a house instead of these apartments,
Yeah.
because I would have just been in a much better financial situation to do bigger things,
Sure.
you know, a lot earlier.
I don't know about you, but there's been times on my journey that I've had a couple moments of fatigue where I have gotten tired, like, oh, this is because it's a lot, because people don't
Mhm.
understand all the stuff that you do behind the scenes, the different things, of course, like like you talked about, the people that are in your ear, and you have to kind of be your own cheerleader. At times that can, you can get a little bit of fatigue. I mean, have you ever
Mhm.
experienced that?
Um, Sorry, my thing was looking kind of yellow over here, and now it's looking super blue.
You
I'm
had
just
like
trying to
more of
look
a
good for the audience. You know what I'm saying? But mm, I don't think that for me, I was ever fatigued with what I was pursuing. I think the
sure.
thing for me that I was fatigued with was my situation, because I was homeless a couple times. So I was living out
Yeah.
of a car. So like that situation was what was stressing me out, you know.
Right. Right.
Going for what it was that I wanted to do, not so much, but it's hard like to really say I'm thinking about it. I really think it was really more so just being tired of like, and maybe this is what you're talking about, but just knowing where I wanted to go, knowing what I wanted to do, knowing what the vision was, and it's just being like, man, it's taking forever, and I'm
That's what,
hungry,
yes, that's what I'm
and
talking
like
about. Just that
I'm
that
tired of
journey.
not knowing how I'm gonna pay this bill, or like just this raggedy car, or like, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
really got tired of that. I ain't gonna lie, but
Yeah.
yeah. So if that's what you're talking about, yes, I
Yes.
definitely.
Yes.
Oh
It's
yeah,
not
definitely had
it's
those
not
moments.
necessarily the passion, right? Because I think for people like us that are creatives and passionate, like that's always there. It's always
Hmm.
like yearning, and you're like always like it's always a drive and a need for it, right? But it's all the other elements that are entailed. And it is
Yeah.
like the outside circumstances of like just having to live while you want to pursue this dream. And that's,
Hmm.
yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Is
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was a lot. That was a whole lot. But
yeah,
again, you know, back then I just felt like I have to do it. I just gotta grit my
yep,
teeth. I gotta eat the beans and the rice. I literally ate beans and rice. Literally I can't tell you how much I made rice and poured pork and beans in it and spin it up,
mm,
mixed it up, and that was what I ate for dinner. Like I ate that for dinner a lot for some
wow,
years. So
yeah,
I mean, you know, it was that just going through that was frustrating.
yeah,
Just knowing that it was something bigger out there, not exactly knowing how it was gonna come or when it was gonna come. And like I remember thinking, like, man, when is this gonna be over? And now you bringing it up, I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, that was so long ago, and
yeah,
I had forgotten. I
yeah,
forgotten about that struggle. Like
yeah,
I have a little struggle here and there now, but it ain't nothing like, you know what I mean? It ain't
yes.
nothing like that. So yeah.
But it makes you appreciate where you are now. I
Mm-hmm.
know for myself, when I look back at things, it's like, wow. But again, I think that passion, that drive within me just was like, it was like destined. So I just kept
Right.
going, despite the things that were around me. But yeah, sometimes you look back and it's like that was heavy. That was heavy.
Really,
And
really.
you have to put
But
almost a
then it
compensated.
was heavy. But it's like going in the gym, lifting weights, right? It's like after you've lifted that weight,
Yeah.
the little stuff that come at you now is like, man, I've done so much more than that with
Yes.
so little, or so much less resources, that this little issue ain't really nothing to me, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely right there.
And again, that goes back to what I was saying earlier, is how people just don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They see you show up,
Hmm.
you're a breath of fresh air and everybody is vibing, but people don't understand because, I don't know about you, but I don't share everything that, I go through. you just show up, right? Because it's like, what's the point of sharing all of that? So people just don't know what you went through to get to where you are. Because I think that some people, even though they appreciate you now, I think sometimes when people see what you went through, they're like, wow, you know what I'm saying? Like they really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Well, I do share. I just
Yeah.
don't share current stuff. So if I'm dealing with something currently, you
Yes.
wouldn't know. But I
Yes.
always share what I've been through in the past because I think that that's important.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are dealing with things, and sometimes when you're dealing with it, you think you're the only one.
Yes.
So it was. I made a post a month and a half ago or something like that on Facebook, and I was like, I wish y'all would have said. I wish more of y'all would have quit acting like y'all had it like that because we could have been having potlucks when I was in
Yes.
college. Because
Yes.
now I'm looking back and y'all talking about how broke y'all were, and I'm like, I thought I was the only one out here broke. We could have been hooking it up.
Right. Right.
But so
Everybody can bring a
so
little bit.
when you're dealing with it, you think that that is just you or you're the only one going through it because you see everybody else with this facade up.
Yep.
And so I try to from a branding perspective, I'm not going to let you know if I'm dealing with something at the moment, if I'm going through
Right.
something,
That's
but
what that's
from
what I
a
mean. Yeah.
yeah, but from a human, like, I really want you to know that you can do it type of perspective. I'll say, yeah, I was homeless. I was living out of a car. Like,
Yeah.
I really ate beans and rice, like pork and beans and rice, and loved it. And poured a little bit of sugar in there and mixed it up. Like, this is what I ate, like, every day. Because I just couldn't afford, anything else. And so I don't have a problem, like, sharing that stuff. But,
Right.
yeah, if I'm currently dealing with something, I probably wouldn't. But then
Yeah.
again, whatever I'm currently dealing with is not the same stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like some business related stuff where it's like, oh man, I gotta come up with $5,000 to like get this order or something. It's not like everyday regular stuff, but
Right.
yeah.
Right. No, I agree with you in regards to like in that moment. I definitely
Hmm.
don't share, but I am an open book about my past struggles or hardships, because especially when it comes to speaking to other women, about different things. I was in a domestic violence relationship,
Hmm.
and then poverty, raising children by myself, all that stuff. So things like that, most definitely, it's like, girl, look, you got this because it is
Hmm.
it is doable, because other people have done it, so you can too, and we got you. So that's really important. My last question for you is, if you had some words of encouragement to leave with us, what would they be?
It'd be the same thing that I would say to my younger self, which is like, just keep doing what you're doing. I believe that everybody's a genius in some way.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, in ways that you're a genius, I'm just simply not. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
that is the same thing for everybody else. But I think that we get trained, our genius gets trained out of us because we're like, oh, you got to get a job. You got to do this. You got to do that. I'm like, you don't have to get a job. You need an
Right.
income. And you
Right.
don't need to have a job to have an income. There's so many other ways you can make money. And
Yeah.
so, my advice would be to have an unrelenting faith in what it is that you do and what it is that you feel like you contribute to the world, because the world really needs what you have to offer.
Yeah.
Um, you may not be offering the exact right thing at the moment, but search yourself, continue to believe in what it is that you do. Go with the flow of everything. Don't fight the current. Just ride with wherever the current takes you. And then you'll be positioned in the place that you need to be in. And like, you'll be able to contribute to the world what we need. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
world needed what Steve Jobs had to offer. The world needed what Bill Gates had to offer. The world needed what Elon Musk had to offer. But at the same time, the world needed what Dr. King had to offer, and everybody else that comes under that. So, you know, I just I just say have unrelenting faith in what it is that you do and what you feel like you can contribute, because it is definitely needed.
Yeah, yeah. I like that. And it's interesting too for me. It's like, and even with that,
Hmm.
if you're ahead of your time, still keep going. Because I think it's a lot of people, when you talk about different geniuses and stuff, it's a lot of people that are ahead of their time, right? And so people,
Hmm.
like, again, like what you talked about, how people say, oh, you're crazy, or that doesn't make sense because it hasn't happened yet, or it's a new idea, or new to them in
Hmm.
their bubble that they're in, right? So even on top of that, I really I like that about being relentless. And then also, even if you're ahead of your time, right? Keep going. Like you just the world will catch up with what you have to
Hmm.
offer. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Whenever people are not, a lot of times, if you're creative and more so innovative, people have
Yeah.
to catch up to you, because it's not an innovation if everybody gets it. That's not an
Right.
innovation. Innovation is something new that nobody's ever seen, that nobody's ever thought of before, nobody's ever heard of before. That's innovation. So if you're creating something and we say the world needs what you have to offer, if the world needs it, it means it ain't here yet. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so if it ain't here yet, the world may not understand it. They may not even understand that they need it, but they need it. So you have
Yeah.
to do it, see it through, let it mature, let other people see it and collaborate with you and make it even better. And, the world excels. So, I mean, imagine, like I said, if Steve Jobs never went through with his idea.
Yeah.
I'm using an iPhone right now. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Using an iPhone right now, wearing a hoodie that was designed on the Mac. So, I mean, that one person didn't follow his idea, we wouldn't have iPhones, we wouldn't have MacBooks, we wouldn't have a lot of different things. A lot of people
Yeah.
I wouldn't even be able to make money the way that I make money, because I rely on many of the things that he created that were just ideas that didn't make sense to people back then.
Right.
Back when, computers were being made, the idea that you can have a computer that can fold up and like you take it with you is just like crazy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I
Right.
remember the floppy disk that had the little plastic thing on the inside that you weren't supposed to touch. And like, look at us now. So,
Yeah.
definitely be unrelenting in what it is that you believe that you can contribute, because what you're contributing might be something new, fresh, that we don't even know that we need.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Word. Well, I appreciate you for being here. I really just appreciate your platform, how you use it. I mean, I've watched things in regards to the book that I encourage people. You want to tell us the name of the book? Do you
It's
still
called Lift Every Voice.
Yeah, yeah, and it was documenting all the pictures and stories that you kind of were told and shared or witnessed along the journey of 2020 when all the protests were going
Well, yeah,
on.
that's where it was
And
gonna start. That's what it started off as, but it became a history book. So
yeah, yeah,
when I started realizing, like, oh, whoa, white people want it too, I was like, okay, I need to give context to these photos, because I was realizing there's a segment of the population that really thinks this stuff started with George Floyd. And I was like, yeah, nah. So I had to go back I went all the way back to August 20th, 1619, when the first black feet touched the soil here, before it was even in America.
yeah,
And or the first black slaves from Africa came. And then I just kind of told the story of like, this happened and that happened and it caused this and it caused that, to try to set the stage for why we were out there.
right,
So it's an actual history book, but
yeah, which is true.
half of the book is what was happening at the protests.
Yeah, yeah, I have a copy. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a beautiful production masterpiece. I encourage people to support that.
One of my companies is called Black Spades. It's a
Yeah,
lifestyle brand that started with a deck of playing cards that was designed for spades. And so it took off from the beginning. I was like, whoa, this is what I wanted to do. But it kind of took off from the beginning. And as the company grew, I'm still trying to figure out, okay, well, what's the next thing I can do? What's the next thing? And so right now we're doing a spades cruise that's going to take place on Juneteenth of next year. And we're going from Juneteenth, we're leaving Miami, going to the Bahamas, then to Jamaica, then to Haiti on a 6-night cruise, where we'll be teaching people how to play spades. We'll be having panel discussions on Black history, Black culture, how to build a better Black business, Black relationships. And we're having a $3,000 spades tournament, in addition to some other stuff. But that's the spades cruise. And to find out more about it, you can go to spadescruise.com.
Awesome. Yeah, I encourage people to support that and the many other endeavors and that you do. And when this airs, we'll definitely share your websites and your
Mm-hmm.
information so people can get in touch with you if they need to or see or support what you're doing. So I appreciate you for taking the time today to be here. It was amazing. I appreciate it, and I wish you well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. I am honored.
Thank you so much. All
Okay.
right. Take
All right.
care.
Good night.
All right. Bye.